So I am SA, and I am the co-host of the Author Sesh Corner, and I have Wren Nightingale.
Hello.
And then today we are interviewing Nikki, who is writing a series.
Hi.
Um, so do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My name is Nikki. I am a uh, therapist. I actually work with children, working with their therapy, getting them school-based therapy. So I do a lot of kind of work in regards to mental health and things like that. I also work at a nonprofit clinic for people with lower incomes. So that's kind of my main job when I'm not writing. And luckily my self-care is to write. So I've been very fortunate that when I get home from a long day or when I get home from a hard case, I then get to do the thing that I love because it does really help with kind of winding down. So those are kind of like my two hats that I wear. And I also own a cat named Joker,
Oh, cute.
who is 15. He's 15 and very grouchy, but he has been here through all the writing process. So he's my little co-writer, I say.
Oh. Do you have a title for your work in progress? And then how did you choose your title and does it hold any significance?
So I'm writing a series called the Libahunt series, but the first book is actually called Libahunt, which in Estonian means werewolf. I did not originally plan for this to be a series, so I just kind of thought it'd be cheeky to find a fun word about one of the main characters. And I really just liked the way that the word came out. Um, and then once it started becoming like a bigger thing and start became from one book to two books, and now there's a planned sixth book. Um, it just became the series name. It was just a lot easier than all the other titles, so that's kind of where it came from. So it was just kind of like a play on the word at first that turned into, oh, this is a serious thing. So that's how it came out.
What is the anticipated genre for your work in progress?
It's a fantasy. I guess it would kind of be considered an like a modern fan or an urban fantasy, although it's more like in the woodsy or the suburban areas of Washington. So I wouldn't consider it urban. I would just kind of say modern fantasy if I could, but that's where it lives.
Okay, personal question. I can cut this out if you want me to cut it out. Are you from Washington?
I am not from
Oh, okay.
Washington.
Okay.
Yes, I
We have a lot of Washington people in our server, so
Yeah, I'm from Washington, so
oh,
that's why I
okay.
asked.
I
yeah,
picked
I think
Washington as the like, yeah, like the land area, like what I'm basing it off of, but like I'm not like holding it to like this is a specific. It has to look exactly like that. It's more just kind of like like the area that I could connect to based on the lore kind of or the expectation of woods versus rural and like
Mm-hmm.
it was just a lot. It was like 6 or 7 months of me just researching every state in America and trying to figure out which one fit my needs the most.
Well, thank you for choosing Washington. How long have you been working on your work in progress?
Um, so it started off as kind of like it was supposed to be a rom-com funny thing back in 2016. It was supposed to just be like a short, funny little thing. So I've been working on it as a concept since 2016, but like this version where it became more of a fantasy, where it was a multi-series, that didn't really start until like 2018, 2019, when I really started like, oh, this is a real thing. This isn't just like funny shenanigans or just like these silly characters. So I would say the idea of it started in 2016, but what it really became started in like 2018, 2019.
so. You've
Okay.
been working on it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It was hard. I had to kind of pause it during COVID. There was a lot of like, obviously, mental first aid that was going on, psychological first aid, and our job was just so like busy that for like a year or two I had to put it down, just to focus on the kids and to focus on like the job in general. So then I luckily was able to kind of pick it back up in like 2022, 23, and then I did a whole rework of it, and yeah.
So, is it a completed first rough draft, or are you still on rough drafts? Is it still in the works?
So it's being edited right now. It's been edited before. It's kind of in like the beta edit like situation. But I'm on like the final edit at this point. It has been released for people on like that I have a Patreon, so I will let people that are on the Patreon read it. But I'm working on the final edit so then I can move it into the publishing step.
Ooh. Do you have a specific
publish?
Oh.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
I just put a comment in there.
Do you have a specific publication date in mind?
I would love to have it done. Let's see, it's like July. I mean, I would love to have it done by the end of the year at like the latest. Just because I set my goal for 2026. So I would love it to be like the end of December, being able to say it's published. If I could get it done before that, that'd be great. But I also don't want to rush it if it's something that like I want to give it the care that it deserves, so that the people that have supported it get what they have been putting their time and effort and support into.
Mm-hmm.
I would say try to aim before December. December's really not a good release month from what we've been told by other people. It's actually one of the worst months to publish and release a book. So I would try to aim before December if you could.
Okay.
But if you don't want to rush, springtime is a good time to publish.
Yeah, about the March, April area.
Right before my birthday. That sounds good.
There you go. Is there a main point of view you prefer to write in?
So the book does have 4 points of view. It originally, again, when it was just kind of like a joke of whatever, it had 12. And then instantly it was like, that can't really happen. So it's been dropped down to the 4. My favorite point of view out of those characters is the character that I least connect with, actually, which is a character named Teddy. And despite me having the least in common with this character, I find his blunt view of things and his kind of brash perspective really fun to write because it is so different, and I find myself frustrated with him while I'm writing him. So and then I'm like, oh, this is what I'm aiming for. So that would be the perspective I like to write the most in, is Teddy's perspective.
Do you write first or third?
I write third perspective.
Third. Okay.
Yes.
I know you mentioned Teddy. What are the other main characters' names, and how did you come up with them?
The 2 like main characters would be Jonathan and Elizabeth. Honestly, I have loved the name Elizabeth since I was a kid. That's just been a personal favorite of mine. I like the nickname Liz a lot. So that one was just a name for me that I've always had a love for. That's why that one just kind of stuck with me. Jonathan, I'm not actually sure how it came to be. I think I was looking for a name that kind of matched Elizabeth. So like the fact that Elizabeth can be dropped to Liz and Jonathan can be dropped to John. And I have this affinity for names when you change your perspective of somebody or when you change your relationship, then the name you use changes as well. So being able to go from like Jonathan to John was really important to me, so that people that are closer to him use the shorter name, and the ones that are more distant have the more polite or like the more formal name.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense.
Can you tell us a little bit about your 2 main characters?
Yeah. Jonathan is a werewolf, what the book calls a turned werewolf. There are 2 types. There's a born or a turned. Born, obviously, if they're born werewolves. Turned are humans that were bitten and then transformed into werewolves. And he has extreme, a lot of anxiety about this, mainly because he's not supposed to be able to function. And there's just basically a big stigma about turned werewolves being dangerous, and they get killed off pretty fast because they can't control these physical and emotional changes. And the fact he can puts a big target on him, and it causes a lot of anxiety in his life. And he's just trying to casually just like live without being a big deal. And unfortunately, he stumbles into some situations that put him into the limelight, and he'd rather just be alone or rather just be able to like go to the store without being hunted.
Mm.
So that's kind of his thing, is a very anxious werewolf with a lot of power that he doesn't want to use. Elizabeth is a human who works at an animal shelter or like a sanctuary. She's pretty opinionated, and sometimes her love for animals tends to get her in some trouble with the humans in the area, especially when she lets her patients go. So sometimes she will say some things that she shouldn't say, which then get her in trouble with like federal funding and grants and things like that. She's just trying to make this sanctuary work near a town that doesn't really believe in her. And she ends up finding Jonathan in his wolf form, and it causes a lot of conflict. And then that's kind of where the book unfolds the bigger plot behind not just this casual meeting, but other things kind of going on in the background.
Ooh. um, what has been the hardest part of your work in progress so far?
Um, I think sometimes letting go of ideas or concepts that I really wanted to have in the original, or accepting that maybe an idea I had isn't gonna fit, so I have to like reframe. I do a lot of outlining, so then if something doesn't fit in that outline, I have to then go change like seven other things in the outline. And sometimes I'm really dedicated or I really like an idea, but logically from a like editor's perspective or a beta's perspective, it doesn't make sense. So letting go of those more like selfish loves or selfish kind of things has been a little difficult. That I've definitely worked on with the more betas that I've had.
I feel you there. I'm a big outliner too. I chapter outline and story outline.
Hmm.
And sometimes I have to change the chapter outlines because of the same reason. It just doesn't fit or something changes. Uh, what has been your favorite part of the writing process so far?
I love character arcs are kind of like my favorite thing. So getting to write those moments where I've been building up for like 16 chapters or two books. And I know in my head, like, this is the moment that this character is going to change, or this is the moment this character is going to make a decision they wouldn't have in chapter one. I love those moments of like a character giving into a concept their maybe world doesn't believe in, or standing up for something that they before hated. So those character development moments are like my favorite. So once I get to those, I'm always like, okay, this is a functioning story.
Do you have any character that you resonate with at all?
I adore Liz a lot. She is a character that I feel takes a lot of stressors or a lot of like people's problems on her shoulders that she doesn't necessarily need to. Hers are more for her like animals and the people she considers like her people to protect. I do that a lot with my clients, where I take a lot of their kind of strife and their conflicts, and I feel it. So I totally understand. Sometimes she makes bad decisions, or sometimes she puts herself in danger, and everybody else is like, "Why would you do that?" And in my head, I'm like, "No, that's valid. Like I understand because I've done it too." So yeah, so Liz's determination to help people to the point of hurting herself is something that I resonate with a lot.
Do you have a character that you just don't like but is crucial to the storyline?
Other than like some throwaway character, like I mean, I have like characters that are meant to be for like kind of people that stand in Liz's way, or people that are like hunters that are cruel to Jonathan, but those are meant to be kind of characters you don't like. Of the characters that like have to be in the story that um I work with a lot. I feel like each of them kind of has a purpose. Like I said, Teddy frustrates me. He tends to have a very black and white view of things, and he also is not somebody who likes to give second chances, which I sometimes am like, I don't like. So I'd say book one of Teddy, I'm not a big fan of, but by like book two, I'm like, he's a completely different character. So it's definitely a character that grows on you. So I would say he's a little bit of a frustrating one. Um, and the only other one that comes to mind is sometimes I read there's a character named Chloe who is very energetic, very like in your face, super extroverted. And for me, who is an introvert, I'm like, I just need you I just need you to breathe a little and take some breaths, and like go take a nap, go, so it's not that I don't like her. I just think sometimes in my head, I'm like, if I was with her, I would need to lock her in a closet for like 10 minutes and just take a breath.
I feel that. What scares you about being a writer and or publishing?
I think the one thing that scares me about publishing is so many people have been supportive of me, have always like been in my corner, have gone the extra mile to make me aware of how much they believe in me. So I always have this fear that if I do publish and it just fails miserably, that all their effort and belief in me is just kind of wasted.
Mm.
I've always in my head been like, if I sell 5 books, that's good enough for me because that means 5 people loved my like story enough. I'm just kind of now in the mindset of like I just want to make them proud. I am very confident in where I am as a writer, but the publishing side of it, I just don't want to ever let someone feel like they put all this effort and support and care into this dream of mine, and then this dream just kind of like falls apart.
Mm.
But again, I'm now at the point where it's like, if 5 people buy it, I'm good at this point. Like, if 5 people buy it, that in my head is like, I've done my job.
Yeah. How do you deal with writer's block and how do you overcome it?
Very rarely get writer's block. I have the kind of the opposite problem, which is I have too many ideas and too much I want to write, and then trying to like find time to write it all down. If there's ever a moment where I'm like, wow, nothing is coming to mind, nothing is happening, I normally will go and either reread what I wrote before, like I will go read like the last 2 or 3 chapters of what I wrote, or I'll read through the entire outline that I have to see if there's anything that I'm not vibing with, and that's why I'm struggling. Normally, it's one of those things where I recognize I had a plan in mind. That plan's not coming to fruition, so I'll go back and rechange that outline to then spark that desire to write that scene.
How do you deal with difficult or emotionally draining scenes in your work in progress?
I normally will just I normally will just vent to my Discord. I will normally go in there and be like, yeah, that's normally like I'll go in there and be like, yeah, I just am not happy right now. This is a bad scene. I'm very emotionally upset. And then they're like, oh, so we're gonna be emotionally upset? Like that's what you're telling us? And then that makes me go, oh yeah, that's right. And I feel a lot better. So a lot of times it's definitely like just recognizing that it's important to whatever is going on. I just validate the fact that if I'm feeling this, then it probably means that the readers are going to feel it. And so that's kind of my motivation to make sure that I'm getting it right. Um, and then I put it away for like a day or two and go watch some happy stuff.
I think you're one of the few people that mentioned like talking to other people about how you feel because I think most everybody we've interviewed have like, yeah, I just kind of like go take a walk. It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm a big again. It's probably because I'm a therapist, so I'm always in my mindset of like, your feelings are valid and it's okay to share your feelings.
Mm.
And me being frustrated or me being sad or whatever, if I am able to recognize that about myself, it makes the story more real to me, and it makes me recognize like these characters are real to me. So if I'm feeling sad about one of them telling their backstory, or if I'm feeling angry with one of them shutting it down another character, I'm hoping that means that like these characters are more fleshed out and they're real to me. So I validate the emotion, but I also recognize it means the that the that the story is going well.
What advice can you give other aspiring authors like yourself?
I think it's okay to not be a big name. I think a lot, especially maybe like my generation, like saw a certain series or saw a certain genre like get this like crazy boom, and then everybody wanted to be that like writer. Everybody wanted to get multi-movie deals and multi things. And I think for especially now where the world is, like you just have to be okay with like you writing the book that you want to write and not worrying about like all of the stuff afterwards. Be
Mm-hmm.
happy with what you're writing, enjoy what you're writing, and then the people will find it that are meant to find it,
Mm-hmm.
and those people will enjoy it, not a random person that doesn't actually care but is just doing it for a trend or doing it because it's mainstream. So that's just kind of my advice is like write what you like and don't worry about the stuff that comes afterwards.
Exactly.
That's good advice.
How much time do you spend researching compared to writing?
Uh, for this book, a lot. I mean, I am a big plotter. I will say this. I am. I know we had just talked about outlines and stuff like that, but I am somebody that like if I'm gonna write a story about, art, I'm gonna go and like research everything that I can about art in that area or things like that. So learning just kind of like I have to learn about like the different kind of areas of the landscape that I wanted to use. I had to then look at a lot of the lore based on some of these creatures or species that I use in the story, see which parts of the lore I want to keep, what parts I want to change for myself. It's also the story starts in 2018, but there's an entire timeline that goes like hundreds and thousands of years. So then having to do all the research about that and making sure that things that I was bringing up in certain years were actually created during those years
Mm.
versus like 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely I have like pages and pages. I think I've got like just like 17 different documents of just information about stuff that never even made it into the book. So I'm a huge researcher.
That's good though,
That's
because
good though,
yeah,
because you don't want to have any something false and then get called out for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Stole my line.
What does success mean to you as a writer?
Um, I think it depends. For this story or this series, I think success is just getting it published. Like just getting it, having a hard copy of it, feeling like I reached my dream, which was to get a book published. Like that's really the dream. So for success for me is to get it published. I mean, the next step would be to get people to buy the book, which would be great, but I also want to make sure that I'm not doing it for the wrong reasons or I'm not doing it and then feeling like my dream wasn't worth it. So success for me is getting it published and then the people that put their time and effort into it and supported me, getting them their copies. That's kind of my two steps for the success for the next year or so.
What made you want to become a writer?
Um, I've been writing since I could speak, essentially, basically. I have a book from when I was, I think the youngest, or the book again, it's like I think 12 pages long. But it was from like fourth grade or fifth grade. I have been doing this for as long as I can remember, and I think for me, writing was a place of escape or a place where I didn't have to, deal with everything going on in my life. So writing has always just kind of been my safe space and a place where if I was frustrated, I could write a character that was frustrated, or if I was going through something, I could have a character explore the different avenues. So it was just a healthy way for me to cope with the things in my world that I was too young to really understand were just like not normal, or healthy, I guess. So yeah,
Mm.
writing has just really been for me an escape that helped me kind of get through a really tough part of my life.
And a very healthy escape it is.
Yeah.
Can you share a personal life experience that inspired a character or scene?
Oh, trying to think. It's kind of hard because again, a lot of these characters. I think a lot of like Liz deals with the guilt that she has at one point in the story about a decision that she makes. She's pushing really hard for something. And then that push she feels a lot of guilt towards, feeling like her guilt was, or her push and her desire was the reason why this other character now is in a lot of pain. And I think that that came from a lot of, for me, a lot of the times, this happens a lot in therapy where a therapist really wants a client to achieve what they're hoping for. And sometimes the client is just not ready. And if you push too hard, especially as a young clinician, I remember I did this a lot, where I'd be so eager to help. And then it ended up making them either do the thing they didn't want to do, or they would feel kind of guilty if they didn't like match the expectations.
Mm.
So I think a lot of Liz's guilt for things, or a lot of her desire to help that then ends up being a consequence, comes directly maybe from when I was younger. A lot of my guilt of wanting to help people, and sometimes trying to help too much can cause people to actually do the opposite.
How do you approach dialogue, and do you have any tips for crafting authentic conversations?
I have been told that my dialogue is normally some of my better, like is some of my strongest. And I think for me, it's as long as your character, like make sure your characters have voices. So if you know a character uses nicknames a lot, make sure that that's a steady thing through the story. Don't suddenly just have them pick up using nicknames like 75% of the way through. If you have a character that says gonna a lot versus going to, make sure that that's a solid. So I think just making sure characters have voices that make sense. So I guess, for example, with Liz, and like a lot of people call her Elizabeth, but there are only like three characters in my mind right now that call her Liz. And that's just their style, is they just instantly feel comfortable with people, and that's just how their personalities are. So when you're writing dialogue, my advice is always make sure that you know the voice that you're using, and don't, and normally people will pick out if like you suddenly have a client who came from New York, who was kind of in the system and suddenly is speaking perfect English, and that doesn't make any sense. Like,
Mm.
so just, I guess, knowing your characters and knowing how they speak, just keep that consistent through the story.
Is there an interesting fact that you can share about your work in progress that someone wouldn't know? So, is there something you know that you can share that the rest of us wouldn't know?
So I kind of like said it at the beginning, but the story originally started as a romantic comedy about Jonathan accidentally getting adopted into this sanctuary as a wolf, and then him having to pretend, and then like Elizabeth and her two people that work with her starting to realize that like, hey, this isn't a normal wolf, and then like Teddy comes and starts j- causing chaos, and it's supposed to be like just kind of like a sitcom romantic comedy. Anybody who's read the book, when I tell them that afterwards, they're like, "I'm sorry, that makes up. That what are you talking about?" Because the story has changed so much. Where like Teddy, like in the original, he was supposed to be this kind of like, he just, oh shucks, they got away again, and like now he's like this proficient hunter who just kills everyone. So it, so my tidbit is always, this originally started as just a joking romantic comedy that has now turned into a very, it's a much more serious, like more fantasy based story.
Mhm.
It happens.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like it really does though, because I think, like for me personally, my book I was gonna have like initially be super grim and dark, but I've had added some, I hope, comedy aspects into it, so it's like you just never know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You changed it like 4 times.
Shh, they don't need to know that. um, have you decided on what your author name will be?
I want to use Niki because it's far enough from my real name, and it's far enough from like the name I use at my job, that if one of my, and I've talked about this before, my kids are very curious about me as a human. They are so excited when they find out I like go to the gym, or like one time they saw me at the grocery store and it was like the coolest thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they love to try to find me on the internet. That is just one of their things. And my book is not, I would say, like it's not like the worst or anything in regards to gore or violence, but it is fantasy. People do die, and I wouldn't really want like an 8-year-old reading the story. It does have an incubus in it, who is pretty overtly sexual in it. So I try to kind of keep that. So Nikki is the goal, and then hopefully because it's spelled with one K instead of two, and it's not my like actual like official name, that'll keep the kids from finding it when I publish it.
There you go.
What platforms do you promote on?
So right now, Twitter is the main one for the Libahunt series. I am working on getting a Blue Sky, and my friend who is an artist is really pushing for me to get a TikTok as well. So those are in the works. But right now, the Twitter is where I'm doing most of the promotion for the book.
All
And
right.
Patreon, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do have a Patreon as well. That does anybody who's a member of any tier, as long as like they're one of the tiers, they can read the story as it's coming out. I do plan. I think my plan once it's edited and I really start moving to the publishing, I think I'm gonna separate them. I'm gonna kind of have its own Patreon, just so that people that are focused on it can get updates about the promotion and updates about like the process of it and things like that.
So
Alright.
that was our last question. So if you guys want to ask questions, you're more than welcome to turn your mics back on and ask questions.
I feel like they're all very scared. Just giving that the heads up. They've openly said that they're a little nervous about being on it. So.
I mean, I told you yesterday that I was a little nervous too, and I opened up really crappy. So hey, you can join me. We are meek and shy. That's all right, me too. But yet here I am. I'm podcasting.
Oh, see,
I have
I'm
a
not
I got
question.
stage fright really bad.
I'm not even
I
seeing
have a
the chat.
question.
Here we go. Go for it.
Oh, yes.
So Saf, congrats on this, by the way. But also, do you have like what kind of plans do you have for like the artwork on the book and stuff? Do you have thoughts around that? Do you have somebody that's doing it for you? Like, what's that like look like, or do you know yet?
Ooh, good question.
I do have somebody that I have always loved their art, and I have talked to them a little bit about them doing the cover for the story. Obviously they're busy because they're kind of like doing their own thing right now. But with the book getting edited, I have hopes. She had already told me that she would be willing to do it. It's just more of just making sure she has time to do it. I have an idea in mind for what I want. Um, so yes, that would kind of be where I'm at. I do have her, you know, her name is she. And so I'm hoping that she will
Yeah,
I'm hoping that she will that she'll be able to do it. But again, you never know with the way the world is. I don't want to say it's 100% in stone. She just said that she would be willing. We just still have to talk about the pricing and stuff like that.
sure. Awesome.
Do you, so how is it going to look with the books that aren't fully fleshed out? So book three, so book one and two are written. Book three and four are fully outlined with like 30% of book three written. I'm a pretty fast writer, I know that, but I also plan on starting to write book three at the end of this year. Um, so I'm hoping that by the time book two is done, book three will be mostly written at that point. So the goal is always to try to be one book ahead of whatever I'm doing. I tend to do that with just all my writing is anytime I go to publish something, I make sure that at least 5 or 6 chapters are done ahead of time. Just to make sure that if there's a month or there's a couple weeks I struggle, I don't have to worry about putting a pause. So the goal is in the next couple months to start, since I already have, I think, 5 or 6 chapters written for that, to start writing book three as I'm dropping book two and as book one's being published, so that by the time book two is done, book three will already be finished.
Okay.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Noelle asked, if you're publishing a ebook, are you planning on to publish on in Kindle Unlimited, or are you going wide and have it on multiple ebook platforms?
I have been looking, actually, I've been doing some research about kind of what are the best. I have like a couple of things saved right now for the best book printing services and the best ebook things. So I'm doing a lot of research to see if, like, I know that like Amazon tends to be the one that a lot of people say like is the best, but I want to make sure that I do have a lot of people that read in Europe. Like I have a lot of like readers from Europe. So I want to make sure whatever platform I use is accessible to not just America, but also like other countries. So yeah, I am looking to publish an ebook so that people that like can't get maybe the hard copies or things like that would be able to. It's just I want to make sure that I'm making an informed decision that's ethically and financially like sound for the people that are going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware of, Amazon, there's only like 2 places people can't access. I can't remember that. And Ingram Spark, don't quote me, but I think everywhere can access them too.
Okay.
We have one of our veteran indie authors who in the server that is very, very helpful. So we always go to her when we have questions.
Mm-hmm. She's our teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Min asked a question. Did you change your mind about some things like the plot or characters after reading comments, for example, and hence changed or plan to change some things in the future books?
So I didn't do that. I think at the beginning, so this book is, again, it's gone through like 12 different changes at this point, which I think is pretty normal for a lot of writers. I've had betas read it, and then betas have been like, hey, this makes no sense, or hey, this is just doesn't, I don't understand why the character would do this. And then I get really frustrated and I'm like, they don't know anything about my characters. And then I wait 2 or 3 days and I'm like, they're 100% right. I'm just being very stubborn. So there's a whole plot point in book 1 about Liz trying to basically adopt the native species to also become a part of the sanctuary. That was not a plot point originally in the story. And then a beta was like, what is her point in the story? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty valid. Like I was angry at first and then I was like, no, that's valid. She's just kind of like this person. I want her to have her own identity. And then that opened up like so many things. So I think that I would say betas have definitely brought me down and brought me down in the sense of like grounded me and like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you love this character, you love this plot point. As an outside person, this makes absolutely no sense. And that's made me then change it. A couple of times I've been like, no, I don't think you're right, because betas aren't always right. But a lot of times they have valid points that they're not
Mm-hmm.
attached to the characters, so they can give you perspective that you might not on your own.
That's how I felt too when I had beta readers and they would say something about a character and I instantly went in defensive mode and then I sat on it for 24 hours and I'm like, no, wait, they're actually probably right though.
Yeah, I think I think I brought it down from 12 points of view to 6, and I was like, 6 is fine. And then somebody, like 2 different betas was like, there's too many voices, and I was very frustrated because I really loved all 6 voices. But then when I actually looked at it, I was like, I don't really need this person's point of view because they're always with these other 2 that have POVs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to like recognize and be like, okay. And that was a hard one to accept, but it's true. Like having too many voices can be really overwhelming. So yeah, betas can be great. You just got to make sure that you also don't lose your own like voice when you're listening to them.
That's right.
So I actually have a question.
Yeah.
With you doing Patreon and your Discord, do you plan to have the readers that are following be your ARC readers, or are you going to find ARCs? Because having ARC readers right before you publish will help also get your book out there. Do you plan to do that?
I'm so sorry about that. My internet just decided, what if I shut off? I don't know why that happened. It literally, I heard you say, are you going to have ARC? And then it ended and my internet literally went, hey, and literally closed itself off. I apologize. I'm
Internet
so sorry
was
about
like,
that.
no, she's not.
I
Oh,
thought I
goodness.
froze again because my end likes to freeze because I'm in the basement and like my router's on the other side. so I freeze a lot. And
Nope. Yeah, no, that definitely, it literally, it gave me like, I don't even know why, it just literally like gave me the world with an X through it, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're done. So I, oh yeah. So am I gonna have ARC readers? Is that what the question was?
yeah, I said because with your Patreon and your Discord group, because you already got people who are following behind you, do you plan to have them be your ARC readers from when you do publish? Or are you
I think
gonna look for ARC readers?
if I was gonna do ARC readers, I would not do it with people in Patreon. And the reason why is I adore the people that I have in my Patreon. They've been so supportive and they've been so great. And because of that, I don't think that they would want to hurt me. And I don't think that they would want to ever like tell me like, oh, hey, this is not working appropriately. That's the same reason why I don't use anybody like that's close to me for beta reading. Because as much again, I think that if something egregious happened, like if I was doing something horrible, they would tell me. And they do like they'll read a chapter and they'll be like, hey, you spelt this wrong here, and I'll be like, thanks guys, that's great. But I just think that ARC reading and beta reading for me, I want it to be somebody that doesn't know me, doesn't care what my feelings are, like because again, I need that person that's gonna drop that information and then is not gonna be like seeing me get mad about it. So I definitely I would definitely have them like edit it for me or things like that. But other than that, like when it comes to actually challenging me about things or having a person brand new that's never been a part of the story, I would choose people that were not in my Patreon or were not following me.
I would say, because I know you're more of a lurker and look around in the server, but there would be quite a few people in my server that would love to ARC for you since they don't follow it. So that's something you could do as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if they were willing to do it, I would 100% totally be down for that.
We have quite a few people who write the fantasy. We also have a member who writes werewolves and vampire cross, like hybrids and stuff, but it's more like erotica paranormal, but I'm sure
that
but we
doesn't
have a
bother
lot of
me.
people who write that same kind of genre in there, and they would love to do it.
Yeah, again, I even probably need the walkthrough of how to even do ARC versus, like, again, that might be something I need to pop my head in and be like, hey, I now have my book. I just don't know what I do next. So yeah, definitely we'll have to, once this edit's done and I'm really like in the publishing part, I'll have to start poking my head in and you know, stealing people's brains for a minute.
Yeah.
So with you using Washington as inspiration, is there like a specific area in Washington that you're kind of like solely focused on, or is it just like overall the mountainous forest regions?
Yeah, so I have a map. I have a map that I've actually highlighted where every plot point happens. To make sure that I know the distances between them, the time it would take to get to them, any of the obstacles that would be in the way of them. So like I can't say exactly like what happens, but like I know like the Olympic National Forest, Quinault, Neilton, Grisdale, the Quinault Reservation, and then there's some stuff that happens in the Capital State Forest, Oakville, and then in book 2 there's some stuff that happens way all the way down at Bay Center. So yeah, it does definitely like span Washington, but I have like areas that I've highlighted and researched for each battle or each kind of plot twist and things like that.
Okay.
So like the stuff that happens way down north of the like area, that's very different than the up there. So I had to look at like how does the environment have changed? Are any of these animals that I'm going to be using? Like I've been looking up which animals are native to which areas of Washington.
No, you know, and it's so funny too because, for example, like I grew up in Washington my whole entire life, and I only discovered 3 years ago that we had porcupines, and I was like, what do you mean we have porcupines? So, I mean, it's just like, it's so random over here.
Yeah.
Any of the local Washington lore play a part in the story?
So it did benefit that I had read a lot that like people in Washington are more like lore, like more willing, not willing to believe in the supernatural, but like there was this like
We
understanding
are.
of like, yes, and that helped me a lot because like, so like again, the native species in the human world, the native species is aware of the human world is not aware of the native species, and so like I've used a lot of like the like, oh, these things like the vampires with garlic and werewolves with this. It's more just like the people in the culture that needed to explain strange phenomenons were then banking on these and accepting them, not realizing they were actually real. But it was like, so yeah, so there is definitely this play of like Washington has a lot of superstition, yeah. And so playing on that so that Leon, who is a different character, can hide Jonathan in a lot of situations. And it's like, well, you know, Twilight was here, so that everybody's like, just if they see this, they're gonna assume this, and like, yeah. So yeah, I would definitely say Washington's superstition and their beliefs and stuff like that have played into being able to mask the native species that are going on.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Is there any other questions that anybody would like to ask?
Don't give them too long of a leash. They will find random things. Cut it
okay.
off.
This is what this is for.
Okay. Do you have a favorite species in the series?
I mean, I am always I am a lover of werewolves. I think they're so cool. But I also have a special place for Jonathan, so that's probably why. If I had to say like which one I would want to be in the story, I would love to be a shifter. Mainly a mimic shifter, which just basically can like take the identity of anyone else that they've touched. So I think shifters are the coolest ones out of all of them, but werewolves have a special place in my heart.
Do you have a favorite author?
So when I was younger, the one that I always attribute to my love of like fantasy, and again, I probably should not have been reading these at like age 14, was Charlene Kenyon, who had a Dark Hunter series and and it very much changed my whole perspective on like writing. I look at it now and go like, oh, okay, that's not exactly what I want my writing to be like. But as a kid, it just like was like cool. You can build worlds and you can do different. They can be modern. It was my first real like experience with like supernatural or fantasy stuff being in a modern world. So again, should I have been reading them at 14, 15? Probably not. But without them, I don't think I would have fallen in love with fantasy. So I always attribute Sherilyn Kenyon to the authors. And then obviously, I mean, I actually really like poems more. Robert Frost is always one that I go to. I'm in love with Robert Frost stuff. So yeah, poetry tends to be more inspirational to me for some reason. But those are like the top two I always give.
Which book are you most excited to write?
Okay, so of the series, book 3, I think I've talked a lot. I'm super excited to write book 3, because that's where like some of the consequences of book 1 and 2 come into play. So book 3, so the way that I've kind of explained this before, like book 1 and 2 are kind of like an arc, book 3 and 4 are kind of like an arc, and book 5 and 6 are an arc. So book 3 and 4 are a pair. And book 3, going into book 4, I'm so excited about because it gets a little bit darker and it gets a little bit more like people start realizing their traumas and stuff. And I'm a trauma-based clinician. So yes, book 3 and 4 as a pair are probably like the ones I'm most excited to write.
What's your inspiration for writing antagonists?
So each story each arc has a different antagonist, I would say. So they all have different inspirations. I definitely think that each story I kind of wanted a different like purpose or a different uh theme for them. So like one of them is definitely more just black and white. They see a profit that's going to be able to be made and they're gonna do that. Then there's another one that's more about like getting revenge and making the world right again. So I would say that antagonists for me, they just kind of get changed based on the consequences of what happens in the following book.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself or about your books before we start wrapping up?
I mean, again, I'm just super excited to get into the process. I'm very anxious to get into the process, so I'm definitely hoping to use the Discord once it's edited and just kind of getting a step by step of how to do this. But I hope that people have enjoyed reading it so far, and when the book is actually able to be bought, that they'll give it a chance and hopefully follow along for the rest of the series.
All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for coming in and joining us with Niki on learning more about her works that should be hopefully coming out soon. We publish on Spotify and YouTube. You can follow us on Author Sesh Corner for both of those platforms. We also have a TikTok where we do try to do more interviews on TikTok as well. We need to get 100 followers to try to do more interviews on there. Otherwise, leave, like, share, comment, anything helps. And we will see you guys next time. So thank you again, and bye-bye.